Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Next Level Tech. I'm your host, Nick Smith. We're here in the arcade today, and I'm talking to Mr. Jeremy from Vizrt. What's up, bro?
How you doing?
Good to have you here.
Yes, good to see you in person for once.
Well, you see me on Teams all the time.
I know.
But it's my person through a camera.
That is true.
That's how the world is seeing us right now.
Yeah,
that's okay.
That works.
All right, we're going to talk a little tech, and we're going to play a little pool.
That works for me.
You ready for this?
Always.
All right, because this is my second pool game in, I think, 10 years. Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, you're breaking.
So should I play left-footed then, if that will help you?
Yeah, no, please. All right, so you break, I will back clean up, and we'll go from there. All right, Jeremy.
So.
Vizrt.
Yes. Thank you for pronouncing it correctly.
Makers, what, for not calling it New Tech still?
Or Vizrt, or everything else that we keep hearing.
Yeah, that's fair.
But what does that stand for?
Visual representation of technology.
Close. Visualization in real time.
Visualization in real time. Oh, because the original Vizrt products were
correct.
Real time
graphics.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna put one in the hole. Yeah, look at that. I got one in finally, and then I set myself up for.
Yes, you're welcome.
All right, so you guys are the makers. I mean, Vizrt, like graphics products, that kind of stuff. I think a big claim to fame, obviously, is the TriCaster and all the NDI.
Correct.
Right. So if you guys were to say, like, what's your influence on the industry? How are you influencing where the industry is going and what we're doing? Your answer would probably be...
Well, it was the democratization of video in the first place. The fact that with NDI now being adopted by hundreds, if not thousands, of companies and products, devices can talk to each other all over everywhere. And we've got that bridge capability, so now it does become international. We have that remote aspect of it of, hey, I can be in my house in Georgia controlling the TriCaster, here in Folsom. And all that just because of the stuff that's built in on NDI. And yes, I'm intentionally going after the orange ball. And I missed.
Wait, what did I put in? Was it solid?
You put in solids.
Oh, right, I'm solid.
But no, as far as what we're doing with not just NDI in the video space, something that's kind of been lacking or just not thought of as much has been on the audio side. And a lot of that is going to be changing very, very shortly. We had NDI Direct Audio, which was utilizing the VST3 plugins. So that was, about a year or so ago. But we're kind of stepping it up a little bit now with some hardware interfaces that will be coming soon. There are some third-party stuff that's out there. And there'll be a lot of stuff when it comes to audio coming soon because, your video can only be so good. But without good audio, you're really having some issues. And that's junk if it falls.
Oh, yes! Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Point for me.
I got a lot of table here to get to 9, so.
Okay, you've been at Viz a couple of years now. Oh, thank you.
5 overall, coming from New Tech and then into Vizrt, so yeah.
What, after this time, what has surprised you from a customer standpoint where you go like, they used it for what? Like, what use case, and you don't have to tell me the customer, but just want to know what they were doing, how they were using it.
Oh, that's kind of been my bread and butter for the longest time, is taking our products and putting them in complex environments. Mainly just because our stuff is kind of overbuilt by fault, so we can take advantage of some of that. So I've done a lot of crazy stuff over the years, just from simple switching to multi-viewing, automation, the remote applications. That's something that's been taken off quite a bit, especially when it comes to NDI Bridge, being able to control systems from wherever, and having a lot of capabilities in that where I've got a remote operator. Well, yeah, back-to-back scratches, there you go. Can be in completely different locations.
I can't guarantee that's actually going to help me, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, we'll find out. And then being able to complete the package, if you will, with everything that we do on what we consider the traditional orange side, the high-end broadcast. Now we've made it more channel-focused in some applications with Trio Go and Virtual Studio Go, things that people didn't think that they had access to before from either budgetary perspective or whatever. Now they see that use case, and it's been incredibly cool to take advantage of. I've even done some stuff recently with Virtual Studio Go in a house of worship environment, taking the NDI out from ProPresenter and put that into an augmented reality graphic platform live on a church stage. So it's just, we've got the tool set, how are we going to apply it?
What, so in that environment there, and I love the concept with AR graphics, so were they showing that live on the iMac, or was that just...
Out for broadcast.
just for the broadcast.
Right. So in a lot of environments where you're talking about, you want to take the camera and shoot the screen inside the church because that looks weird, or you're trying to take the full screen image out, but you still need that graphic to be shown for the live broadcast side of it. Well, now we can take advantage of a software platform, ProPresenter, that's had NDI built into it for the longest time, and use it in a different way. We can now take that NDI from ProPresenter and then add it to an augmented reality platform. You completely missed the table on that one.
No, I hit the table.
Well, the ball jumped.
I thought we were doing trick shots. I thought the whole point of this was to be able to do trick shots.
So speaking of that, years ago, I actually did play around a 9-ball with Mike Massey, the world famous pool player. It was at a home convention in
Was
Virginia.
that like a 5-minute game where you just watched him play and then?
No, because I was so bad, or depending on how you look at it, good defensively, the game lasted a lot longer than he anticipated. So that made me feel a little bit better about my chances. I mean,
Okay, so Viz is a very software-defined company, right? I mean,
yes.
80% of what you guys do is software. There is some hardware backing a lot of it up. How do you balance innovation? Because there's so many things you could make stuff do, but it'd be impossible for the user to make it happen in the moment. How do you balance all this great, capability with good user experience? Like, what goes into that?
I think a lot of
people that just focus on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, that R&D does do that, and I think it also becomes a factor that we're led from our user base. That's all right. You kept it on the table this time.
No, that is true. That is true.
Where a lot of the feature sets and advancements and things like that are coming from our users. They're saying, hey, I want to see it do this, or can I make it do that? Okay, cool. Can we build that in the software? Yes, we can. Because we're software focused, that allows us, especially in the modular way, the TriCaster setup or some of the other products, we can add more feature sets more rapidly than have to restart from scratch on a certain piece of hardware, because we're limited to the hardware. We're not anymore. If you see where we're going with a Vision platform, for instance, we're on a different hardware set that gives us the capability to do far more on the software side of the world. So that means we are faster to get feature sets to the market, workflows, things like that. And that does become quite advantageous for our end users. I'm gonna try the 15 for like the third time, just because I got nothing else.
So I was defensive for once.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm usually just defensive in general about how bad I play, but
there you go, give you something to hit.
I mean, what? Thanks. Thanks. Okay, let's take it out of Viz for a second. When you look at the industry as a whole, like you look outside of your company, who do you see out there innovating and really moving the needle and pushing sort of the boundaries?
I mean, there's a lot outside of just us, and I think it also comes down to some of our partners that we work with, like NVIDIA and Audinate and several other companies out there that are pushing the envelope on their own stuff that then we can take advantage of. Especially NVIDIA with the graphics cards, and then some of the other companies, AMD is doing a lot with us, Intel's doing a lot with us. So we're bringing more and more of these, I guess what you consider computer-focused first companies into the ProAV and broadcast market, where they really didn't have a play before. Like, why would Intel or AMD or NVIDIA be at NAB? Why would they have a booth there? 15 years ago, that made no sense. Now it does, because what they're building at, and you're talking about component level companies that now are giving a lot of their feature sets out to so many other manufacturers to take advantage of that. So the cross collaboration between partners and companies now has grown far more than it used to be. Everybody used to be siloed. Hey, I made one box, it only does one thing, and it doesn't talk to anybody else's anything. That was the broadcast and Pro AV industry for the longest time. Well, you've seen a lot of that merging and converging to where a lot of folks, and we talk about all this time, that we do play well with others at VizRT. I can walk into anybody's room in any vertical market, see whatever gear that you currently have or whatever gear you're thinking about getting. I'm like, yes, I can play with that. Yeah. I can use that. I can use what you have and augment with what we have. Or here, I can take what you have to the next level because of the feature sets that we have internally. So it does make every single project completely unique, and also gives the warm and fuzzies to the end user, because then they're like, oh, we're special. Well, yeah, you are. You're doing something that is unique, but we're not forcing you into one workflow. We're not taking what you want to do into what we are telling you to do. We're adapting our environment to your environment, and it comes with some really cool results and a lot of happy folks.
I want to double click on the Intel thing for a second, because I think that's an interesting sign of where the broadcast and the ProAV industry is going, right? Because if we look at the the general purpose IT industry, everybody else, they've all moved to software-defined everything, right?
Right.
Now we're just software sitting on a cloud service somewhere, right? And I think it was a little slower to hit the broadcast industry, and I still think it hasn't really touch the AV industry big enough yet, because they're still designing with a system on a chip mentality.
Right.
When we look at the throwdown box here to the throwdown box there, versus the broadcast industry, which is moving away from custom silicone, custom, boxes that do one thing to, hey, just give me a server and I'll throw my stuff on there and then I'm up and running, right?
Right.
And so I think it's, and that's the industry where IT and everybody else has moved to, right? And now we're seeing the broadcast industry shift to that. And I think there's a lot of value in that, because it allows for the repurposing of gear, it allows for the commoditization of the underpinning, and it falls in line with the vision I see you guys moving to. See, I said vision like it's a product or something. But to move to, hey, we're software and the hardware can be commoditized, which allows for flexibility and recyclability and all the things that maybe wasn't as accessible with a custom built box,
right?
Which I think is good for the industry, and it's also good for the environment, right? To not be building custom things that have one use and then they get thrown away, right? From that perspective. So I do like the fact that you guys and a lot of the others are really pushing this narrative of let's get to software defined so that we can get out of this custom hardware.
Well, and that got us into the cloud faster than most others as well. And the latency, that was the biggest thing too for me. And, cloud was always scary, it was niche, but seeing the round trip latency, around 13 milliseconds, we did a project for that, from New York to LA, going through a server in Lorton, Virginia. Like, that was pretty awesome, that we were faster in the cloud than some of our competitive hardware switchers were. It really was eye-opening that, okay, this can be done, and it does. It completely democratizes everything you're trying to do, and we now give you options to purchase however you feel like it. Perpetual, subscription, hardware, or cloud. There's so many options now that for every end user, okay, great, we have a model, we have a go-to-market strategy, we have a way to manage your books better, because we can give you that option, CapEx or OpEx. The sky's the limit.
Okay. I think it's interesting because going back to my earlier question, which who's innovating, who's doing something interesting. When I look at most of the manufacturers in the market, they're iterative. They're building on existing technologies and just iterating on those technologies. I feel like you guys are one of the few that are truly generative in this, to say we're creating something new, we're creating, and it's what I love is you're creating it for everybody to use. You're not just keeping it to yourselves.
Yeah, and we did that
I
with
know
NDI.
as a sales guy,
yeah.
you'd love to keep it to yourselves and be the only one, but that's pretty spectacular. So hey, listen, take your last shot, and I'm going to wrap this show up. All right, this has been Next Level Tech. I'm your host, Nick Smith. We're in the arcade with Jeremy Morris from Vizrt, and you can catch us on another episode soon. Talk about it later.